Greetings, Prime Minister.
Well, greetings to you, and of course, greetings to the viewers of GIS programming.
We are almost at the end of 2011, and just before we get into a few specifics as it relates to the government's performance, what is your take on 2011 from a national and more or less global standpoint?
Well, if you look at the global standpoint, I mean, we ushered in 2011 with very serious and a very bleak outlook because the global crisis started sometime in 2008, and the focus at the time was that it will take us well into 2014, and there are economists who are saying well beyond 2015. 2011 was in fact a very difficult year for every single government and every single country. I mean, there are countries which would have done a little better than others, but the global situation was a very difficult one. Nationally, I mean, we have been able to hold our own to a great extent. We have not seen any loss of jobs in Dominica. As a matter of fact, there has been an increase in employment and employment opportunities during 2011. The government finances were able to meet our obligations to our creditors and to our citizens. There were no programs in the government system that was compromised or shelved or set aside or reduced or cancelled at all. I mean, all our social programs remained in place in 2011, notwithstanding the global crisis. So 2011 was in fact a very difficult year for many countries. And we are ushering 2012 with basically the same situation.
I want to go into the area of health. It's probably, if not one of the most important areas for you as Prime Minister of the country, because it said the health of the nation is the wealth of the nation. The country has made some strides. Government still has some concerns. I know you raised issues about non-communicable diseases, and also I think importantly for you as Prime Minister is the whole issue of good infrastructure, new hospital, good equipment, and so on. Where are we on that as a country as we close 2011?
Well, there are a number of issues confronting our health services. One has to do with the trained human resources, and we have been doing that over the last several years, training more nurses, training more doctors. As a matter of fact, after the 2009 general elections and 2010-2011, we created in excess of 100 positions within the nursing profession. You understand? And we have been able to appoint all of these nurses into the system, and we're still training more nurses. At this time, we have no real difficulties with adequate number of nurses to provide services to our citizens. We have been also training doctors, and we have more doctors in Dominica than we had in 2010 because the government has decided to continue employing more doctors. And the whole approach to this is to ensure that in every district we don't only have one doctor, but we could have 2 or 3 doctors. And I believe in the next couple of years we will be able to attain that. In respect to equipment, we have been investing heavily in equipment. As you know, the continuous use of medical equipment is of tremendous concern, because what's happening, because we have free medical care for our citizens, everybody 18 years and younger and everybody 60 years and older have free access to medical care. So you could go into the theater room and have a surgery done without having to pay any single cent to the government. What is happening is that several of our citizens who live out of Dominica, and they have been living in Dominica for the last 25 years, 30 years, 15 years, are now coming to Dominica to take advantage of the medical services we have in Dominica. So we have been able to address to a large extent the improvements and increase in the medical equipment. Obviously, we're not at the level that I would like to see us at this time, but we're making progress towards that. So, look, if we compare 2010, 2011, we have made tremendous inroads in addressing the deficiencies in respect to medical equipment. With regards to the infrastructure, we have been improving the infrastructure of the health centers across Dominica. We embarked in 2011 on a major rehabilitation of the health centers, and that will continue in 2012, because we believe we need to have proper facilities to provide medical care to our citizens, and very importantly, primary health care. You know, if our health clinics are not up to date or up to standard, people will now want to bypass the health centers in the villages and in the towns and find themselves into the hospitals, and that's what we're trying to avoid. So we have to ensure that we have the human resources in health centers, we have the medical equipment at the health centers, the infrastructure is up to date, and we have people who are prepared to provide care and attention to our citizens in those villages. So we've been placing attention on this aspect. With regards to our general hospital or Princess Margaret Hospital, clearly we cannot continue to provide tertiary and secondary medical services and attention to our citizens in that facility. I mean, the nurses and doctors and the Ministry of Health, they're trying their best, but this facility has come to a point where it has to be demolished. And in 2012, you will see the commencement of the construction of a state-of-the-art modern hospital, and that project is being financed by the government of the People's Republic of China through a grant agreement. So healthcare is critical to us. But and you know that, and I've been speaking about this for the last 6 years, about the prevalence of chronic non-communicable diseases, and this is creating havoc not only in Dominica but in the region and the wider world. And the incidence of diabetes, the incidence of cancers, hypertension. And I get the sense that we're not taking care of ourselves as we should. We're not eating right, we do not exercise. I believe as a result of our upward mobility, economically, people are placing less attention on home-cooked meals with the proper ingredients and the proper balance insofar as the various nutrients are concerned. So we go to the fast food restaurants, we go to the other restaurants, the high concentration of sugar in our juices rather than drinking it fresh. So we're moving away from that which we've been accustomed to. There are more vehicles in the streets of Dominica, and people no longer walk short distances. People want to be dropped off right in front of their offices and right into the garages at their homes. So you have those issues and so on. And so you have these present-day challenges to confront. So that has compounded itself by creating the high incidence of diabetes and hypertension. And my hope is that we as individual citizens can take greater heed of the need to take care of our health. But we have a national plan to address the issue of CNCDs. It is being implemented as we speak. I would really like to, quite honestly, see the Ministry of Health and indeed the wider country place a greater emphasis in public education. I do not get the sense, while we have the plan and we have resources attached to the plan, both human and financial, but I would like it to be more in the faces of our people, at work, at school, at home, on the buses, on the radios, and the televisions. And I do not get the sense that it is at that level. So that's one of my criticisms of the program. Because having a workshop is one thing, having a public event is one thing, but the continuous education is critical, and we need to be able to measure the impact of the plan to confront CNCDs. What is it today, and what is it tomorrow? To be able to gauge whether we're making progress in that regard. What I had done as Prime Minister was to suggest to the public service that they should encourage the public officers to exercise. So they've been using the Windsor Park Stadium. So the officers would leave work at 3 o'clock in the afternoon and go to the Windsor Park to exercise during the week. Quite a number of public officers have joined. My hope is that the entire public service would have joined. The whole idea in this would be to bring greater attention to the need for exercise.
How could we talk about health if we do not talk about education? One of your major concerns is education. You started really in this field, and a lot of effort and emphasis have been placed, not only in infrastructure but human resource development. Over 2011, a lot has been done. And I'm sure as we look back on 2011 in the area of education, you feel pretty good, and I'm sure your projection for 2012 is going to be even better.
Well, education, like I have, is a very important social need. And we, the government, have been placing tremendous attention on education. Clearly, in this globalized world, you have to ensure that every citizen has a skill, and every citizen has certain competencies to be able to compete nationally, regionally, internationally, because the barriers of doing business have been broken down. The issue of greater integration among the OECS and CARICOM is there. The issue of the European Partnership Agreement and the agreements that trade agreements that we are negotiating with Canada and eventually the United States and Brazil and many Latin American countries. We have to ensure that we take education to the next level insofar as ensuring that our people are properly trained, and the training must be must parallel the needs of our society. You understand? You know, what do we need in Dominica? What are the human resources gaps we have in Dominica, and how do we fill them? Because that's going to be critical. So we've been placing tremendous attention on this. And as you know, in 2005, we set ourselves a target by 2015. We would like to see at least one university graduate in every single home in Dominica. Mm-hmm. I am satisfied that we're much closer to attaining that objective than we were in 2005 or even 2 years ago. I mean, you know of the several hundreds of our students that we have across the length and breadth of the world, the number of students, people who are doing the UE program here, and in large measure, about 95% of these people have support from the government, either full scholarships or partial scholarships. So we have been supporting the education of our people. There's been increased access to secondary school. There's been increased access to the state college. I mean, in 2002, we had about 250 of our young people accessing the state college. As we speak today, you have about 1,600 of our young people at the state college. So the people are recognizing that we're expanding. And of course, we're constructing a new state college, and that will be completed by next year. So our students will move into new facilities, and it's all part of taking education to the next level and so forth, improving the facilities and greater access to education. But while we created greater access to education, we have also provided the means for our people to take advantage of it. So we almost now have a national transportation program. I mean, more than about 70% of the country is covered by the national transportation program, where we transport our students to and from school. We provide textbooks to many students, to uniform, school transfer grants, you know, the number of things that we provide to our students to ensure that there are no excuses for them not to be in school, and there are no excuses for the parents not to send them to school. We have school feeding programs in communities and schools which require them, and that has been, we provide a breakfast sometime to students, and also lunches to our students and so on. So we provide them with the access, and we provide them with the means of taking advantage of that access. And we did this making tremendous progress. Early childhood education, for example. Over the last couple of years, we've been providing the early childhood and daycare centers with a government grant to underwrite some of the expenses associated with that. But I've been thinking, I'm saying, look, we've made tremendous progress in secondary education, 100% access to secondary education. We are well on our way to achieving 100% access to community college level education. And we are well on our way to achieving one university graduate in every home in Dominica. But what about early childhood education? You know, and going around the country, I find there are too many children of preschool age who are at home. Now, one has to appreciate the impact of that on the society. One, you have children who are not given a proper head start in life, because this is the foundation years in their lives, and you can make or break a child during that period of time. And if the child doesn't have access to an institution to be able to learn to count and say his ABC and learn to spell his name, by the time he gets to grade 1, in the preschool, he will be much slower and way behind, you know. So the teacher has to spend extra time to get him to a level with his peers. But you have also a social and economic challenge with that, in that the mothers are unable to go to fetch work because they have to stay home to take care of the children. Now, if you have a single mother, you can understand the imposition of poverty on his family, because she cannot afford to send her child to school. She cannot go to work because she cannot pay anybody to take care of the child. So she's at the mercies of some man, and therefore her independence will always be trampled upon. So how do you empower them and so forth? One, by ensuring that you provide access to early childhood institutions for children, and you give her an opportunity to go and fetch work, because there's work for the people to do. There are a lot of opportunities for women to get work. And small business unit, and also the expansion and the growth of the economy provides great opportunities for these people. So in 2012, the government will be declaring Dominica as being having implemented universal access to early childhood education. It's going to cost us some money, but we have to ask ourselves as a nation, do we want to spend the money up front or spend millions later to correct that problem we're creating for ourselves? And I believe that it will be money well spent. I've been asking myself, where do I get the money from to do this? If it means that I have to set aside an infrastructural project, I am prepared to do so and explain to people of Dominica why is it that I am falling back on a promise I made to them in 2009, and I will explain it to them, and I believe I have the support of the Dominican people in that regard. But looking at the mathematics and so forth, I don't think we need extra budgetary support to achieve that objective. In greater efficiency in the Ministry of Education, we can save some money there, and that money can be used to pay the salaries and to build institutions. And in many of the villages, we don't even need to build early childhood institutions, because we have primary schools that are practically empty or partially empty. For example, in my own constituency, my own village in Vekas, we have a preschool, and we're utilizing a classroom in the primary school because half of the primary school is empty. You see what I'm saying? So there has to be this understanding among the educational officials that we need to look at what the resources that we have and make use of it. But that is going to be a major project for Dominica, major program for Dominica, and I am personally spearheading it because of its importance to the future well-being of Dominica.
In the area of infrastructure, Prime Minister, if there's ever a sector where Dominica has been most visibly challenged, and I say Dominica meaning the government, it is in the area of infrastructure, of course, bearing in mind all the disasters, natural disasters that we've faced. You have had as Prime Minister the task, and I dare say the headache, of trying to find finances to help repair damaged infrastructure and to build new ones. I'm sure this has been a major area of concern and an area you're going to look into. And also, under this particular ministry, we are seeing what we call, something that's novel, and that is the whole search for geothermal energy. And from all reports, that has been going well. Over 2011, I'm sure these are areas that have occupied your attention, and I'm sure in 2012 will be no different.
I mean, when we came into office in 2000, and when I assumed the responsibility of being Prime Minister of the country in 2004, I mean, our infrastructure was archaic. I mean, it was something that, I mean, driving from the airport was a nightmare for many. Yes, it's a beautiful flora and fauna, and it's a nice drive, fresh breeze, clean air and so on. We had that. But in terms of the safety of the road, in terms of being user-friendly, I mean, this road should have been fixed about 25, 30 years ago. I mean, and I'm not criticizing any previous government for it. Maybe they didn't have the ability to raise the finances for it and so forth. But look at the West Coast Road. I mean, all the major roads in Dominica were 30 years, beyond its existence. And we can't encourage people to come to invest in Dominica if our basic infrastructure was not of the 21st century. So we had to devise a plan to get these major infrastructural projects ongoing. I mean, you look at the West Coast Road, the airport roads, I mean, you know, even the community roads, the secondary roads and so forth. We have spent hundreds of millions of dollars improving our country's infrastructure. And I believe that this has brought a sense of pride to our people, because, you know, it was just unacceptable. Now we have international standards. We have roads of international standards in our country, and that will continue apace in 2012, because while we have made progress, we still have some way to go in achieving that objective of having much more improved roads in our country. And of course, the other infrastructural projects that we have been speaking to, I'm sure time will not allow us to chronicle all these projects. But one of the projects that we've been working on very, very nicely is for example, the West Coast Water Project. And we're taking water from the north in Capuchin all the way to the south. And that will address all the water challenges we've had along the West Coast. I mean, whenever I have town hall meetings in Collioure or Dublin or Biarch, you know, people would raise the issue of water and the quality of water and the reliability of water. The objective of that water project, that West Coast Water Project, is to address all of these challenges, all of the shortcomings of the water supply. And we're happy that project is ongoing. But you mentioned the geothermal. And we believe that the geothermal is one of the major planks of the country's economic independence and in future. And if we're able to take advantage of the natural resource that the good Lord has given to us, we see this as being what Banner was, and even much more than that in the 80s to us. That is going to be the nucleus that helps to transform the livelihoods and the well-being of our people in this country. And what we have done is that we have created this coalition of nations and institutions that are partnering with Dominica to assist in exploring the geothermal. And let me give you a list of some of these entities. You have the OAS, for example. You have the regional councils of Martinique and Guadeloupe. You have the French government itself. You have the EDF, which is the electricity company of France. You have the Agence Française de Développement, the AFD. You have the European Union. You have the European Investment Bank. You have UNEP. Okay. You have the government of Dominica. So you have all of these agencies, about 10 or more agencies and institutions and governments that have partnered with Dominica to explore our geothermal potential in this country. We have signed the agreements for the drilling of the wells. That has started, and we believe by 2012, the first quarter going to this first half of 2012, we'll have a better appreciation of what the actual resource is below the ground. But very critically, part of that initiative is to share that resource with Martinique and Guadeloupe, and we believe that with the sharing of that resource, that will certainly cause Dominica to become a net exporter of energy rather than a net importer of energy. And one can appreciate the foreign exchange earnings for Dominica, the economic activity in terms of industries, because you will have a cheaper supply of energy. Because at present, Dominica is the highest insofar as electricity is concerned, and the only way we can address that is by taking advantage of our natural resources, and that would be what oil is to Saudi Arabia and what oil is to Venezuela.
Another area of challenge for you and your government in 2011 has been the area of housing and lands, and it was this government who attempted to touch the area of housing which was not touched for many decades. There's been a lot of improvement, but there's still a lot more, and I'm sure your government is up to the challenge as it relates to ensuring that citizens continue to enjoy good housing.
The housing revolution has continued apace. I mean, there was a little slowdown early in 2011, but we have revamped it. We've sold dozens of homes to individuals at highly concessional rates. In the Caribbean territory, we've given homes free of charge to needy families, single mothers, and the elderly. And we continue in this. For the government housing loan boards, we continue to provide loans. In 2012, in January, I shall make an additional $10 million available to the government housing loan boards at a much reduced interest rate for public officers. We have resources in excess of $10 million at the aid bank at 5% interest for income earners within a particular bracket. So we're making progress in those areas. We continue to build homes for people. We continue to improve the homes, providing washrooms, expansions of the homes. This has been a major investment in our people of Dominica. And clearly, it's not the government responsibility to build a home for anybody, is something. But the government recognizes that there are families who need that help from the state, and the state has a responsibility to provide that. In the city of Roosevelt, you will see the start of construction of about 90 apartment units, with about 60 three-bedroom units and 30 two-bedroom units. And these units will be for the ordinary working class people in our country. You have a lot of people who are working in town as public officers in the private sector who are having great difficulty in meeting their rental income, their rental commitments. And the whole idea behind the apartments, Mervin, is to cause people to rent with the intention of owning these apartments after a period of time. So they will pay into the government account, but when they get to the point where they have paid the price of the apartment, they will own it. So you're not paying money into a bottomless pit, to a landlord. The whole idea is to bring a sense of pride and achievement to an ordinary working class single mother, and that's what the Labour Party government has been doing. Is getting people from being poor to the working class to the middle class, and ensuring that the middle class can become wealthy. And we have made tremendous strides in this. And the people who don't see that vision, the people who are refusing to accept those policy programs of the government. But the beneficiaries and honest Dominicans have been able to appreciate and commend the government for these efforts. I mean, you're talking about access to lands. I mean, we have caused hundreds of Dominicans to own a piece of Dominica by the government acquiring large tracts of land from private citizens or even government land itself, subdividing it at tremendous cost to the treasury, because we have to put infrastructure, roads, electricity, water, telephone, cable TV, and the government has to pay for all of this infrastructure. And when we do the maths and we look at what we sell the land to our people, it is way below what we should be selling just to even break even. And we just took a decision in Cabinet that the government has instructed the Ministry of Lands to bring a policy paper to the Cabinet, stating that the government shall not sell lands to our citizens for more than $650 a square foot, because we're selling them for $725. And the Cabinet is saying, look, if you're selling a lot for $725 to a single parent or family, and this person 6,000 square feet, if you're talking about plus taxes about 50,000. The question is, how long will it take that person to finish pay for this lot, and how will this person be able to build a home? So we've been looking at all sorts of ways to see how we can cause greater access to lands for people, because we all work to own a home. That's what otherwise we would not be working really. Own a home, send our children to school, be able to put food on our table and educate our children. That's what we work for. And it's a source of pride when eventually, as small as it may be, or as big as it may be, or as medium sized it may be, that we have a home and we can turn a key and say that that's my home and so on. And that's what the government has been doing. Reduce interest rates, building homes for people free of charge, expanding homes, access to lands, so all of these approaches that we've been using towards addressing the people of Dominica. And the only party that understands that, because of our philosophy of all shall eat, is the Dominica Labour Party.
In the area of social services, I know the government has done a lot to assist all the various organizations, but if we were to point to two major achievements, it would have to be the continued support for the YesWike and the chances where the young ones who have been challenged by one or another found a home. I'm sure you want to speak to that.
I mean, the chances is like a hotel for the young people. You go there, I mean, yeah, all the amenities, you know, it's a wonderful project. It's a wonderful project. Though it is costly to maintain and to run the facilities, but it is money that will be well spent on our people. You know, the young boys and girls who have been abused by the parents and relatives and wider community, and who need a place of safety, a place where somebody can say to them they love them, they have a decent bed to sleep in, they can educate themselves, they have meals, you know, I mean, so you have that chances, and so far it's been working very well. I want to commend Eva Roach and the staff for the kind of personalized care that they provided and the love and affection that they provided to the people there. And this is a major project for the people of Dominica, for the young people, for the children. And you know, it touches your heart to learn of the afflictions of our young people. You know, and the question, why should we as society inflict those pains and suffering on our children? And because we must not forget our own Christian responsibility. You know, when disciples try to deny the children to meet Christ, it said, look, allow them to come to me, you know. But because they're an important part of our society, and they're defenseless, you know. And we have to provide a care to them, and so far it's been working very well. And the whole idea is that we are encouraging families in Dominica who are able to adopt these children, so they don't stay in a facility. The idea is not to keep them in a facility for 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years or the rest of their lives. They come here, they're rehabilitated, they're provided with psychological care, you know, let them feel part of a family, and then families can adopt them. And so far there are families who have in fact started adopting the children, and this is a major plus for chances. So that program will continue. The resources are committed to this by the cabinet, so we'll continue to do that. As Minister of Finance, I will ensure that they have the resources to continue implementing the programs. Another program you mentioned is the YesWike program, and that program provides care to well in excess of 260 older persons in our community. And I mean, we have implemented dozens of social programs, but for me personally, that program is, I believe, is the most touching of all. And those of us who watch a television program on GIS would hear from the beneficiaries of this program. You would be able to see where they lived before, under the conditions they lived before, and how things are today. And the caregivers have become so immersed in this program that they're taking care of these people as if they were their grandparents and parents, and that is critical. That's why in the recruitment of people, I made it very clear to the public service. Look, I do not want you going into to recruit people based on qualifications, whether they went to high school or they went to university. That's not for me the overarching consideration. The greatest consideration is that whether they have a genuine desire, a genuine love, a genuine dedication to these older people. I want to know, are they taking care of their own parents? How are they taking care of their children? Because that is going to be very critical to determine whether they will take care of all these people. I must commend all of them for the level of care they've been provided to senior citizens. So we bathe them every day. We make clean their homes every day. We provide them with a meal. We are repairing the homes to make it more comfortable. We're providing them with electricity. We're providing them with free cooking gas and stoves. We're providing them with free water. You understand? So we have it's a holistic approach to addressing this, and this is making a huge difference in the lives of many older persons in Dominica. And in my travels across the country, my going to people's homes and seeing the condition that people live, there are families, there are couples who have not bathed for months, whose shits you cannot determine what was the original color, who had to go out to light some firewood, to make some coffee in the morning, to boil a meal. you know, who have to depend on the mercies of the skies for some water, collected in a drum, you know, and the question is, how can we have these people who have worked so hard to build our country, to make us who we are, living in this in this condition? How can we go to bed, you know, with our consciences and to have a decent sleep, knowing that there are dozens of older persons who are left to the devices and the elements of this world for survival? And that project will continue. It's a costly exercise also, because you have to pay the staff, you have to their food and all the supplies and so forth. But this is money well spent, because yes, infrastructure is important, physical infrastructure is important, but what about the human aspect of our development, the care of our development? I believe each one of us and the country as a whole will answer eventually to God as to what have we done for His people on earth. You understand what I'm saying? And we have to account, and you know, and these are the things that we need to do if we really say that we are Christian people, if we really say that we are missionaries on earth.
Mm-hmm. Prime Minister, before we come to the end of this interview, I want to ask you three questions, one on agriculture, one on foreign affairs, and one of a political nature. Let me just take you to the area of agriculture. I know it's another area of challenge for this government. I think I can safely say, and I'm sure you'll agree with me, that it is this government who has invested a whole lot in agriculture as compared to previous governments. 2010 has been challenging, but I'm sure there are a number of areas that you would, as a government, look to improve upon in the coming years.
Well, I mean, the number of programs in agriculture, I believe the problem for us as a government is that we do not articulate those programs properly and sufficiently. And I believe in 2012 we need to address our PR insofar as agriculture, and of course the wider government service, because there are a number of things happening that I believe we take for granted. I mean, we have a major cocoa and coffee rehabilitation exercise going on in the country as we speak, but very few of us know about this. We have a major citrus rehabilitation program where we've distributed thousands, tens of thousands of plants to farmers across Dominica. You understand? We have the Agricultural Investment Unit that have been doing a tremendous job. You have the livestock program, a lot of area. They've been doing a dramatic job in terms of agriculture. You know, to the point where we're providing milk to schools under the school feeding program and meats and so forth. So there are a number of initiatives that we are undergoing in agriculture. The root crops, you know, in terms of dashing and yams, and because yams, for example, in Dominica was seasonal. Now, because of new technology, new agricultural practices, you now get yams throughout the year. You know, we have ginger programs in production of ginger. The Chinese Agricultural Technical Mission here have been doing a tremendous job in agriculture. So all of those things would need to be highlighted in 2012. So, because we recognize that agriculture is critical, while we move into the services, into tourism and so forth, but we have to ensure that we do not get to a point where we have to import bananas to Dominica. We don't get to a point where we have to import dasheen and yams to Dominica. We have a responsibility to ourselves to ensure that we have food security in our country, that we can continue to feed our people, and that there can be foreign exchange earned from agriculture. But I believe, in my mind, I've been criticizing this since 2000 when I came to Parliament, and looking at the figures of agriculture, that I believe that agriculture is making a greater contribution to our economy than we are in fact reporting. And I have criticized the statistical department. Maybe they do not like my criticism, but I have a responsibility to speak my mind, because I do not interfere with the reports that they send to me. They're independent in what they do. I do not see the draft reports. I only see the final report. But I believe in my mind, and the Hucksters Association agrees with me, and the Ministry of Agriculture agrees with me, that agriculture is in fact making a bigger contribution to our economy than we're in fact reporting. Because I do not believe that we are capturing properly the extent of our exports, especially through the hucksters, to the rest of the region. And that is something we need to address in 2012, and ICA has offered some assistance in looking at that issue for us and to see how we can overcome that particular challenge. So in 2012 we'll be doing a study and possible training of the statisticians in that regard to look at this issue. But agriculture is critical, and I mean we're doing tremendous things. I mean we are self-sufficient in pork in Dominica. We have to look, and now with the construction, the impending construction in 2012 of the state-of-the-art abattoir, I mean we will be able to increase, you know, in beef and in chicken parts, and to supply the local markets.
Dominica's current foreign policy is unprecedented. It has helped to propel so much of what we've been doing as a country, and also you have always said that our domestic agenda will be what drives our foreign policy, and you have gone out personally as Prime Minister, but as a government, to ensure that our foreign policy reaps the benefit that it should. In 2011, we've seen some tremendous benefits as it relates to forging new friendships across what we call non-traditional friends, and I'm sure you are pleased with what you've seen our foreign policy do for us as a country.
Yeah, I mean, before we came into office, our national policy was driven by, also our foreign policy drove our national policy. So countries' policies drove our own programs and so forth. And every country in the world, it is the national policy that will drive the foreign policy. And Dominica should have been no exception to that understanding. And so when I came into office in 2004, my first decision was to indicate to the government and to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs that from henceforth, this is the agenda we will follow. So I spent tremendous time in devising and defining our own national foreign policy imperatives and initiatives. And we have been pursuing that with great vigor and to great benefits to our country. And you know, we have gone into non-traditional areas. We have been criticized for it. In many respects, we have been the forerunners in CARICOM in these areas. And people are now seeing the benefits of some of these initiatives that were heavily criticized, you know, internationally, regionally, and nationally, you understand. But we recognize that we've been doing things from a principle standpoint. We're not taking on fights that we have no business fighting for. But we have been doing things from a principle standpoint, that we stand on principle. The rest of my colleagues may not agree, but from our standpoint, we believe it's a principle position. So we stand on this principle position. There are many people in Dominica who are still in the 70s and the 80s and so forth. We're in the 21st century. And those who are caught up in the 80s and 70s, that's a matter for them. The country is moving ahead and we need to understand that. But over time, those who have been criticizing me in terms of our own foreign policy outlook and decisions have come around to appreciate this, because we would not have won 18 seats in 2009, moving from 12. Yes, we have been able to change the minds and sentiments of thousands of Dominicans. Understand? Because every decision that we've taken it in the best interest of our people. And we have seen the benefits are there to see. And we shall continue that approach to foreign policy and breaking new ground, you know, leading the way. Because oftentimes Dominica was the last to do something. In many respects, we are the first to do certain things. And we're very pleased with the results of those initiatives.
Prime Minister, you have been the center and focal point of attack by a few who speak quite often. And I say a few because they're not many, but they speak very often. But from all what we see and what we hear, you've been resolute. Your results seem to have been strengthened, and you've stood through 2011, staying focused on charting the course for the country's development. There's nothing that indicates that your ride is going to be any easier in 2012. But what do you take from 2011 that will certainly help you as you continue with the whole focus on developing this country?
I mean, first of all, if I was not relevant to the politics of Dominica, if I was not relevant to the political future of this country and the political presence of the country, if I was not relevant in terms of my party's own standing in the country and among the electorates, I wouldn't be attacked. So I take comfort in the attacks because my opponents recognize that in large measure, and based on what the people are saying, to get into office, they will need to try to get rid of Skerrit. And they've been trying to get rid of me by all means necessary, including illegal means, which I am not at liberty to speak to at this time, but which we are aware of. So they have to continue. Now, I take comfort in also in reading the Bible and recognizing that Christ had 12 disciples. Were any of them persecuted or prosecuted? You know, Christ was crucified because he was doing good for the people. He made the lame walk. He made the blind see. He raised the dead to life. You know, he forgave his enemies. He received the poor. He received the children. He received those who have sinned. He forgave the sins. Yes, I'm saying. And yet still he was crucified. I am no perfect being. You know, I sin like every other man and woman on earth. And the question is, I mean, who am I not to be chastised and attacked and vilified and so forth? But that is not going to deter me from doing what I have to do for people. As a matter of fact, it strengthens my resolve to do more for my people. So the attacks, in some regard, while it has been very distractive and so on, but it has helped me in large measure to remain focused on the job I have at hand, and to be more vigilant, and to take no chances. You understand? So the opposition has the constant attack have been helping, and people will know that I am not distracted at all. I remain very, very focused on the task at hand, in delivering to the people, making myself accessible, listening to the concerns and devising strategies and policies to address the issues confronting my people. And we have been making tremendous progress in that. So let them continue with the approach. Clearly, the people of Dominica have indicated to them that this is not the kind of politics that they want. The opposition tried to export it to St. Lucia to help the European in St. Lucia, and they were rejected. Yes, and people are not interested in this personal attacks and this fighting and this cursing and this shouting and this mepui and this constant attack. People are not interested in this. People are fed up with these things. You know, some people want to know, how can you improve my life? What are you doing? What policies and programs? People want to know you're concerned about them. But clearly the opposition is not interested in this. They're interested in character assassination. They're interested in creating acrimony in our country, division, hatred. They don't want to talk peace. I mean, look at this. Across the denominations, people came together, the bishops and so on came together, the pastors and the reverends came together to pray for peace. And they have been attacked and vilified by the opposition elements. You understand? And the opposition elements are saying, look, we are interested in no peace. Unless you guys give Dominica back to us, there shall be no peace. You see what I'm saying? But we look forward to 2012. We're excited about it. There'll be challenges, but nothing comes easy. And we are equal to the challenge as we've done. And as you indicated, there are a number of disasters in 2011 that we have to deal with. I mean, there are dozens of families that have been affected in St. Joseph, in Layu, in Massac, Canefield, Jimmy, all of these places. And we have been able to take decisions to provide support to these families personally, and also to mitigate against future disasters in those areas. So we remain focused on our task ahead. One of the last things, if you allow me to, I would like to speak about is the issue of LIAT, which is becoming a topical issue in our country, as to whether Dominica should invest in a failing, an alien company. There's so many challenges. And the question I would like to ask Dominicans, I've been asking them, look, don't ask me why is it that I am going to invest Dominicans' money in a failing company and an alien company. You need to ask yourselves, as Dominicans, What would happen to Dominica if Liat fails and stop flying into Dominica? What would happen to our economy? What would happen to air travel into Dominica? And the answer to that question will determine for you the reasons why the government is investing in Liat. Liat is too important to us in the region and Dominica for us to just sit by and complain and gesticulate to Iliad about what you're not doing, what you should be doing, and so forth. We have to be around the decision-making table to guide the future and the sustainability of Liat. And I believe Dominica has a moral responsibility, right, to invest in Liat because of the importance of Liat to our economy. So this is a strategic decision. And I believe that the present challenges confronting Liat is even more reason why we should pursue our decision to become a shareholder in Liat in 2012. I've discussed that with Prime Minister of Antigua and Prime Minister of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and we will be formalizing that arrangement in 2012 and take it forward. As to where I will get the money for it, I'm still exercising my mind, but as I always say, the good Lord will provide, and I will get that money some way or the other to invest in Liat. It may have to be a loan, it may have to be a 0% interest loan, it may have to be a 2% interest loan, but I believe that is money that is going to be important for the future of Dominica, and we have to find the money.
There are many things we could have spoken about if we had the time. The region, OECS, CARICOM, new leadership in CARICOM, and I'm sure we'll get the opportunity in some future program to discuss other issues pertaining to the region. But I want to thank you so much for talking to us, as we have always done annually, to summarize the year before us and the one that is coming ahead. I want to wish you all the success, and thank you so much once again for talking to me.
Well, thank you, Mervin, and first thanks to JIS for bringing out the information to the Dominican public in the way that you've been doing for the last year. I know, people see the program, but they don't understand the extent of work to put this program, the video cameras, the editing, the script and so forth. It's a challenge. I want to thank you yourself for the leadership and the entire staff at GIS for the assistance in providing accurate information to our people in this country. And I want to thank all Dominicans for the support. I want to wish you a very Merry Christmas and a prosperous and peaceful and successful 2012. Christmas is a time of giving, not a time of receiving. So I'm hoping that you can bring Christmas cheer to some person or families during that season. God bless you. God bless our country. We have work to do. Let us, those who are prepared to work for country's future and country's development, work together, recognizing that we are servants of the people and not their masters.
Thank you once again.
Thank you.